10 Important Documents of American History. The history of the United States is littered with significant documents that helped shape the country.
There are 10 highly influential documents at the heart of American history that are known for both their profound statements and their impact on the nation's history.
Number 1 is the Declaration of Independence.
Representatives from the 13 colonies gathered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to officially declare their intention to secede from Great Britain. When he wrote about human equality and inalienable rights, Thomas Jefferson's words created some of the most memorable lines in American history. The Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson and a committee that included Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. The Declaration of Independence had an impact that extended beyond the borders of the United States. It not only served as a battle cry for the new nation, but it also served as a rallying cry for freedom that resonated with other nations around the world. Number 2 is the Bill of Rights. The Constitution was a contentious document, with many large states fearful of the new government's power. In the face of a crisis, James Madison proposed a compromise, a clearly defined set of liberties and protections enumerated in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, known as the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights ensured the Constitution's passage by providing large states with a list of rights and liberties that the government could not violate. Number 3 is the Louisiana Purchase Treaty. The United States was looking to expand by the turn of the 19th century. Manifest destiny was taking root, and Americans seemed to have an insatiable desire for land. When Napoleon needed money to fund his European wars, Thomas Jefferson jumped at the chance to purchase the Louisiana Territory. The Louisiana Purchase Treaty was the first step in America's pursuit of manifest destiny and the development of the country from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The purchase of new territory doubled the nation's size and power. Number 4 is the Emancipation Proclamation. Abraham Lincoln was hesitant in the early days of the Civil War to make the conflict explicitly about slavery. He was concerned about losing the support of moderate Republicans as well as control of the border states. His hesitancy vanished in January 1863, when he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, changing the course of the war. If the Union Army liberated or escaped to the North, all slaves held in Confederate states would be considered free. More importantly, by shifting the war's focus from Union preservation to slavery, Lincoln effectively ended any possibility of European intervention on the Confederacy's side. Number 5 is the Plessy versus Ferguson. The abolition of slavery was only the beginning of African Americans' struggle for racial equality. Black codes and Jim Crow laws attempted to preserve slavery's institution, while limited economic opportunities forced former slaves to live in abject poverty. The Supreme Court's decision in Plessy v. Ferguson reversed many of the post-war gains in racial equality. The decision established the "separate but equal" provision, which permitted segregation across the country.
African Americans would have to wait another 50 years for this case to be overturned.
Number 6 is the 19th Amendment.
Women believed they would gain the right to vote after the passage of the 15th Amendment, which granted African American men the right to vote.
When the desired change did not occur, women such as Susan B. Anthony took up the cause of change. The 19th Amendment pioneered new territory by granting the right to vote to all people of voting age in the United States. It was a watershed moment in the women's rights movement, igniting further action toward pay equity, increased educational opportunities, and a discussion of women's health issues. Number 7 is the Social Security Act. The Great Depression began with the 1929 stock market crash. Herbert Hoover's failure to address the issue ushered in Franklin D. Roosevelt with a mandate for change. Roosevelt's three-pronged plan of relief, recovery, and reform stabilized the economy until World War II wartime production reversed the Depression's losses. The Social Security Act was a key component of Roosevelt's three-pronged New Deal strategy. It provided a bare minimum of income to America's seniors, who had been devastated by the Depression. Later in the century, the act also paved the way for other federal benefits, such as Medicare and Medicaid. Number 8 is the Servicemen's Readjustment Act. Millions of servicemen returning from World War II faced financial and employment difficulties. There were far too many men looking for work in comparison to the number of jobs available. To alleviate some of the problems, FDR signed the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, also known as the GI Bill. The Servicemen's Readjustment Act was largely responsible for the 1950s economic boom. Veterans were able to attend college and enter the middle class at rates far faster than any previous or subsequent generation. Housing allowances resulted in a significant increase in home ownership, and a promising economic future fueled the baby boom. Number 9 is the Brown v. Board of Education. In the 1930s, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People began actively fighting discrimination in education through a series of court cases. With a focus on education, these cases sought to challenge the Supreme Court's upholding of racially discriminatory Jim Crow laws until 1965. Brown v. Board of Education was a landmark Supreme Court decision that declared segregation in public schools unconstitutional. This decision laid the groundwork for future pivotal civil movements. Number 10 is the Civil Rights Act. With the Civil Rights Act, President Lyndon Johnson took a stand to end segregation as the United States descended into racially charged violence. Despite the Southern congressional delegation's best efforts, the act was passed, ending 100 years of post-Civil War segregation. The Civil Rights Act was significant on two fronts. First, it started the process of repealing outdated laws and practices in the United States. Second, it served as a rallying point for Republican and Democratic political realignment in 1968. Each of these 10 documents represents an important period in American history and will be taught and studied as the foundation of the modern United States. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for future videos.